Right now, while you're watching this video. Someone in America with the exact same salary as you, the exact same bills, maybe even living in the same city, is building wealth that you're not. And here's the frustrating part. It's not because they're smarter than you. It's not because they got lucky or had rich parents. It's because they know one thing that took me years of studying millionaires, interviewing financial experts, and honestly, making painful money mistakes to finally understand. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what separates the people who retire wealthy from those who work until they physically can't anymore. And I promise you what I am about to share is not the typical skip your morning coffee garbage you've heard 1,000 times. This is the real stuff that wealthy people genuinely don't want you to know. Stay with me. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is where we break down the actual practical strategies that real people use to build real wealth. No crypto bro nonsense. No get-rich-quick schemes, just proven principles backed by data and decades of research. Now, before we dive in, I want to set something straight because I know what you might be thinking. Oh great, another video telling me to invest in index funds and wait 40 years. No, that's part of it, sure, but what we're covering today goes so much deeper. We're talking about the psychological and behavioral shifts that literally rewire how you think about money. See, I used to believe that getting rich was about finding the right stock, the right business idea, or the right moment to strike. I was dead wrong. The data shows that 88% of millionaires in America are self-made, meaning they didn't inherit their wealth. They built it using principles that anyone can apply, but almost nobody does. Why? Because it requires changing how you think, not just what you do. Let's get into it. Here's something that's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about money. Ready? Income does not equal wealth. I'm going to say that again because it's that important. Income does not equal wealth. There are doctors earning $400,000 a year who are broke, and there are teachers earning $50,000 a year who retire as millionaires. How is that possible? It comes down to what researchers call the wealth equation, and it's devastatingly simple. Wealth equals what you earn, minus what you spend, multiplied by time and compound growth. Now here's where most people mess up. They focus obsessively on the first part, earning more. And look, earning more is great. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that income doesn't matter. But here's the data that should shake you. According to a study published in the Journal of Financial Planning, the correlation between income and net worth is surprisingly weak. The study found that behavioral factors, meaning your habits, your mindset, your daily decisions, account for roughly 40% of the variance in household wealth. Your actual income? Only about 20%. Let me put that in perspective. Your habits are literally twice as important as your paycheck when it comes to building wealth. This is what Thomas Stanley discovered when he spent 20 years studying millionaires for his book, The Millionaire Next Door. The average millionaire in America doesn't drive a BMW. They drive a Toyota or a Ford. They don't live in McMansions. They live in middle-class neighborhoods. They've cracked the code that wealth isn't about looking rich. It's about actually being rich. And that requires a complete mental shift that we're going to break down step by step. If you're still watching, you're already ahead of 70% of people who clicked on this video. That tells me you're actually serious about this. So do me a favor. Drop a comment right now telling me your biggest money struggle. Is it saving, investing? Just feeling like you never have enough? I read every single comment, and I might feature your question in a future video. Alright, let's keep going because what comes next is where it gets really interesting. You've probably heard pay yourself first before. It's personal finance 101. But here's why it doesn't work for most people. And here's how to actually make it work. The traditional advice says, every time you get paid, immediately put some money into savings before you pay any bills. Sounds great in theory. In practice, it fails miserably. Why? Because it relies on willpower, and willpower is a finite resource. Studies from the American Psychological Association show that willpower depletes throughout the day like a battery. By the time you've resisted the urge to hit snooze, skip that donut at work, and dealt with traffic on the way home, your willpower tank is empty. You're not going to manually transfer money to savings when you're exhausted and stressed. Here's what actually works. I call it the invisible wealth system. The moment your paycheck hits your account, money should automatically disappear into places you can't easily access. I'm talking automatic transfers set up on payday, not the day after, not when you get around to it, the same day. And here's the psychological trick that makes this bulletproof. You can't miss money you never saw. Set up a completely separate bank, not a separate account at your current bank. A completely different bank for your wealth-building funds. Make it slightly inconvenient to access. No app on your phone, no linked debit card. Let me give you the exact numbers that work. Research from Fidelity Investments shows that the most successful savers put away at least 15% of their gross income. But here's the kicker. They don't start there. They start at 1%, then increase by 1% every month until they hit their target. This is called the escalator method, and it's psychologically brilliant. You barely feel the incremental changes, but after a year, you're saving 12 times what you started with. 1% of a $50,000 salary is about $42 a month. Anyone can do that. But by month 12, you're at $500 a month, and you've adapted to living on less without feeling deprived. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. You've seen the articles. Millennials can't afford homes because they buy too much avocado toast. Skip your daily Starbucks and you'll be a millionaire. This is frankly financial advice designed to make you feel guilty while protecting the real problems. Let me show you the actual math. A $5 latte every workday costs you roughly $100 a month. Over 30 years, invested at a 7% return, that's about $120,000. Okay, that's not nothing. But here's what the same financial gurus don't talk about. The big three. The big three are housing, transportation, and food. These three categories account for, on average, 70% of American spending. The typical American household spends about $65,000 per year. That means roughly $45,000 goes to just those three things. Now watch what happens when you optimize the big three instead of stressing about lattes. 1. Housing. The average American spends about 33% of their income on housing. If you can get that down to 25%, whether by house hacking, relocating to a lower cost of living area, or getting a roommate for a few years, you're saving roughly $4,000 to $8,000 per year on a median income. 2. Transportation. Americans spend an average of $12,000 per year on car ownership when you factor in payments, insurance, gas, and maintenance. Switching from a $40,000 car to a reliable $15,000 used car saves you about $3,000 per year in payments and insurance alone. 3. Food. The average household spends about $8,000 on food, with about 40% going to restaurants and takeout. Cutting that restaurant spending in half saves $1,600 per year. Add those up. You're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 per year in savings without touching your morning coffee. Invested over 30 years? That's over $1.2 million. That's the real conversation wealthy people are having, not whether you should skip your latte. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This all sounds great, but I don't even know where my money is going right now. And honestly, that was me for years. You can't optimize what you don't measure. This is exactly why tracking your spending is non-negotiable, and there are some incredible tools out there that make it automatic. Budgeting app, financial tool, or investment platform. But whether you use an app or a spreadsheet, the principle is the same. Awareness precedes change. Alright, let's get into the part that most money videos completely ignore. The psychology of wealth. Alright, we're past the halfway point, and this is where things get really good. If you're finding value in this, smash that like button. It genuinely helps the algorithm show this to more people who need to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We drop videos like this every single week. Okay, let's talk about the mindset that actually creates millionaires. Here's something that changed my entire relationship with money, and it comes from behavioral psychology research at Stanford. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you are. Let me explain. If your internal identity is, I'm bad with money, or I'm just not a numbers person, or my family has always been poor, then no matter how many budgeting tips you learn, you will subconsciously sabotage yourself to match that identity. It's called identity-based behavior, and it's one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. Dr. James Clear talks about this in his research on habit formation. He found that the most effective way to change behavior isn't to focus on goals or even habits, it's to focus on identity. Instead of saying, I want to save more money, you say, I am the type of person who builds wealth. Instead of, I should invest, you say, I am an investor. This sounds like semantics, but the neurological difference is massive. When your identity shifts, your behaviors automatically follow because you're no longer fighting against who you think you are. Here's a practical exercise that wealthy people do almost universally. The future self letter. Write a letter from yourself 10 years in the future. Describing your life as if you've already achieved financial freedom. Where do you live? What does your daily routine look like? How does it feel to never worry about money? Read this letter every morning for 30 days. Research from UCLA shows that people who vividly imagine their future selves make significantly better long-term financial decisions. They're more likely to save for retirement, less likely to take on bad debt, and more resistant to impulse purchases. Why? Because they've created an emotional connection to their future self that makes them want to protect that person. But here's the shadow side of this that nobody talks about. You also need to examine your money stories, the unconscious beliefs you absorbed from childhood. Did your parents fight about money? Did you grow up hearing money doesn't grow on trees or rich people are greedy? These messages lodge in your subconscious and silently direct your financial behaviors for decades. You might intellectually know that building wealth is good, but if your subconscious associates money with conflict or moral corruption, you'll unconsciously push it away. Okay, we've talked about saving and psychology. Now let's talk about the other side of the equation, earning more. Because here's the truth, you can only cut expenses so much, but your income has no ceiling. The data on this is clear. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median weekly earnings of someone with a bachelor's degree is about 65% higher than someone with just a high school diploma. But here's what's more interesting. Within any education level, there's massive variance based on skills. The highest earning Americans aren't necessarily the most educated. They're the ones who've stacked what are called rare and valuable skill combinations. Let me give you an example. Knowing how to write is valuable. Knowing marketing is valuable. Knowing data analysis is valuable. But someone who can write compelling marketing copy and analyze the data to optimize it? They're worth 3 times what someone with just one of those skills earns. This is called skill stacking, and it's the fastest path to increasing your market value. Here are the skills that have the highest return on investment in 2024 and beyond. Based on LinkedIn's research and wage data. Public speaking. People who can present well earn an average of 10% more across all industries. Data literacy. You don't need to be a data scientist, but understanding how to read and interpret data is becoming essential. Sales. Every high earner I've ever met understands how to sell, whether it's products, ideas, or themselves. Digital marketing fundamentals. Understanding how online attention works is the currency of the modern economy. Financial literacy. Ironic that we're talking about this now. But people who understand money tend to negotiate better salaries and make smarter career decisions. The beautiful thing about skill stacking is that each new skill multiplies your value rather than just adding to it. And most of these skills can be learned for free or cheap through online courses, books, and practice. Your education doesn't end when you leave school. That's when it actually begins. The investment you make in yourself is the one investment that can never be taken away from you. All right, let's bring this all together with the master framework. Everything we've discussed today leads to what I call the 10-year wealth blueprint. This is the exact framework that, if followed consistently, virtually guarantees you'll build significant wealth. Not overnight, not through schemes, but through proven, boring, incredibly effective principles. Years 1 to 2, the foundation phase. Your only job is to build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses and eliminate high-interest debt. That's it. Don't worry about investing yet. Get your financial foundation solid. During this phase, also set up your invisible wealth system, automatic transfers to accounts you can't easily access. Years 3 to 5, the acceleration phase. Start investing aggressively. At minimum, max out any employer 401k match, that's free money. Open a Roth IRA and max it out every year. Anything beyond that goes into taxable brokerage accounts invested in low-cost index funds. The S&P 500 has returned an average of about 10% annually over the past century. You don't need to pick stocks. You need to consistently buy the market. Years 6 to 8, the expansion phase. By now, your investments are compounding and your income has likely increased. This is when you explore additional income streams. Maybe that's a side business, real estate investing, or converting your skill stack into consulting or freelance income. The goal is to diversify your income sources so you're not dependent on a single paycheck. Years 9 to 10, the optimization phase. Review your tax strategy. Consider more advanced investment vehicles and begin the shift from accumulation mode to preservation and growth mode. By year 10, if you followed this blueprint on even a median income, you should have a portfolio worth between $300,000 to $500,000 or more, putting you well on your way to financial independence. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people will hear this and do nothing. They'll watch this video, feel motivated for a few hours, and then go back to their old patterns. In 1 year, they'll be in the exact same financial position, wondering why nothing changed. Don't be that person. Pick one thing from this video and implement it this week. Just one. Start the automatic transfer. Write the future self letter. Research one new skill to develop. Action is the only thing that separates dreamers from achievers. Let's quickly recap what we covered. First, wealth is about behavior, not just income. Your habits matter twice as much as your paycheck. Second, pay yourself first using the invisible wealth system with automatic transfers to inconvenient accounts. Third, focus on the big three expenses instead of obsessing over small purchases. Fourth, shift your identity to become someone who builds wealth, not just someone who wants to. Fifth, stack valuable skills to accelerate your income without limits. And sixth, follow a long-term blueprint with patience and consistency. Here is my question for you. What is the single biggest obstacle standing between you and building wealth right now? Is it not earning enough? Spending too much? Not knowing how to invest? A mindset issue? Drop your honest answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know, and I'll try to address the most common ones in a future video. Your comment also helps other viewers feel less alone in their struggles. If this video gave you even one new insight about building wealth, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we go deep on topics like this every single week. I genuinely believe that financial education should be free and accessible, and your subscription helps make that possible. Go build your wealth.